I never thought the woman I married would one day make my own mother feel like a stranger in our home. My name is Michael. For 15 years I built what I believed was a strong marriage. I had a solid career in finance, a spacious house in a quiet suburb outside Chicago, and a wife, Emily, who everyone described as warm, family-oriented, and put together. We had 2 kids. On the surface, everything looked perfect. My mother was 82. After my father passed away, she lived alone for a few years, but her health began to fade. Arthritis made every step painful, and her memory wasn't what it used to be. I made the decision to bring her into our home. Emily smiled when I told her. She even hugged me and said, "She's your mom. Of course she belongs with us." At first it seemed okay. My mother was quiet and grateful for every small kindness. She spent most of her time in her room, reading her favorite books or watching old classic movies. I made sure she had everything she needed, her medications on schedule, warm meals, and help getting around when her legs wouldn't cooperate. But looking back, the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. Emily started getting impatient. The quiet sighs when my mother asked for help. The way she would leave the room whenever Mom tried to join our conversations. Small things at first. I told myself it was just the stress of adjusting. We all have our limits, right? Then the comments started. She's always calling for something. Can't she wait? Why does she take so long to eat? The food gets cold. I didn't sign up to be a full-time nurse, Michael. I would gently remind her that my mother had raised me by herself after my dad died young, that she had sacrificed so much so I could have the life I have today. Emily would nod, apologize, and things would feel calm for a few days. But the respect was already breaking. I should have noticed it earlier. The way her tone changed when she spoke to my mother. How she stopped calling her Mom and started saying your mother. The eye rolls when she thought I wasn't watching. I was still holding on to the picture of our family. I believed marriage meant carrying each other's burdens. I trusted that the woman next to me every night felt the same. I was wrong. It all came to a head on a Thursday evening. My mother had fallen in the bathroom that afternoon. Nothing broken, but her hip was badly bruised, and she was terrified. I was stuck in back-to-back meetings downtown, so I called Emily and asked her to stay with Mom until I could get home. When I walked through the door 2 hours later, my mother was sitting on the edge of her bed, crying quietly. Her clothes were still damp from the fall. She hadn't been changed. The dinner I had asked Emily to give her sat cold and untouched on the knitstand. Emily was in the living room, laughing at videos on her phone. I stood there in silence, just watching. Something deep inside me changed that night. Not loud rage, not yelling, just a cold, heavy clarity. I took care of my mother myself. I cleaned her up, changed her clothes, gave her medicine, and sat with her until she finally drifted off. She kept whispering, "I don't want to be a burden in your house, son." Those words hit harder than anything. When I finally spoke to Emily, there was no guilt in her eyes. I have my own life, Michael. I can't drop everything every single time she needs something. I'm not her caretaker. That was the moment I stopped seeing her the same way. After that, I started paying closer attention. I noticed how Emily would ignore my mother's calls for help. How she'd cook for us but serve Mom whatever was left over. How she complained to her friends on the phone about the old woman living with us. The disrespect had moved past neglect. It had become deliberate. One evening I came home and found my mother sitting on a chair in the hallway because Emily had needed the space for guests. My 82-year-old mother, who could barely walk, waiting out there like she didn't belong. I didn't explode. I didn't argue. I simply helped my mother back to her room, made her comfortable, and went to bed next to a woman I no longer respected. That's when I understood everything. The woman I had married wasn't who I thought she was. She had shown her true character when it mattered most, when it came to honoring the person who gave me life. I didn't react with anger. I reacted with distance. I began pulling back emotionally. I stopped sharing my problems with her. I stopped making long-term plans together. I poured my energy into my work, my health, and especially my mother. I hired a full-time caregiver for Mom, someone patient and caring. I made sure my mother would never have to depend on Emily again. But I also made sure Emily felt the shift in our home. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten divorce right away. I simply started moving different. I woke up earlier, hit the gym consistently, and threw myself into my career with new focus. Within months, I earned a major promotion and a solid raise. I began upgrading the house, but my mother's room came first. A new adjustable bed, a quiet air conditioner, comfortable furniture, and everything she deserved. Emily noticed the growing distance. She tried to pull me back in, the way people do when they sense things slipping away. She started cooking my favorite meals, being extra affectionate with the kids in front of me, and even asking about my mother now and then. But it was too late. Respect once lost is nearly impossible to rebuild. 6 months after the night I found my mother crying, I sat Emily down, calm, controlled, no raised voice. I told her the truth. I brought my mother here because she needed our help. You turned your back on her. You made her feel small and unwanted in her own son's home. That showed me exactly who you are. I will never trust you the same way again. She cried. She apologized. She said she was stressed, that she didn't mean it, that we could work it out. I looked at her and said quietly, "Some things can't be fixed with sorry." I didn't create chaos. I didn't throw her out dramatically. I prepared my exit with dignity. I secured my finances, focused on being the best father I could be, and made sure my mother lived with peace and respect. Emily eventually moved out once she realized the marriage had ended the night. She chose convenience over compassion. The last time we spoke, she looked at me with regret and said, "I never thought you'd actually change like this." I replied I didn't change. I just stopped pretending. Today, my mother lives with me in a new home. She has her own comfortable space, a caregiver she adores, and a son who ensures she never feels like a burden again. My kids visit her every day. There's real peace in our house now. I didn't lose my marriage. I lost the illusion of it. The lesson I learned is simple but heavy. Never ignore how your partner treats your parents. The way they treat the people who raised you is exactly how they'll treat you when you're older and weaker. Respect isn't just words. It's how someone acts when no one is watching. And once it's gone, no amount of love can bring it back. I chose my mother. I chose my self-respect. And in doing so, I finally chose myself. If you're watching this and you're going through something similar, remember, silence isn't weakness. Sometimes the most powerful move a man can make is to observe and prove himself and walk away with dignity. Stay strong, protect your peace, and never let anyone make your parents feel unwanted in your home. That's a line you don't cross.